Okay, let me attempt now to answer some frequently asked questions that we get. First of all, how does distance mode study differ from classroom based? Well, distance mode requires you, the learner, to take more responsibility for your learning. You don't have the advantage of having a tutor in there in your classroom that you can ask questions. You actually need to go out and find out for yourself. Now, by doing this, it actually becomes very effective way of learning. However, you do need support when you come across a brick wall. It's not about you just going away and doing all the work and then all the study and not getting any support from us. We're very much focused on supporting you. But in the first instance, you should try and find out the answer yourself, either by asking questions or by looking it up in your research. So, distance mode study is all about you taking responsibility for your learning and us supporting you when you require it. But it can actually be a very effective way of learning in distance mode. When I did my degree, I did it all in distance mode, and I actually think I learnt more than when I studied at college. We also used to find that when I worked at TAFE that a lot of the students there used to rely on me to give them the answer as their trainer, and I used to answer it. The only trouble with that is that they became very much reliant on me to give them answers, and they weren't really learning themselves. So what I did is I stopped doing that, stopped answering the questions and getting them to find out for themselves. And after some initial reaction from my students, I found that they actually enjoyed it and learnt more when they found out more for themselves. Same can be applied in distance mode. What is the best way to study in distance mode? Well, the best way is for you to actually have some self-discipline. Allow yourself a certain period during the week to study. Now, it's very important that you understand that whether you're doing it in classroom-based or distance mode, the first 6 to 8 weeks of your study is the most crucial. And why it's the most crucial, it's because it takes you that long to get into some sort of study pattern. And now when I say study pattern, I'm talking about you disciplining yourself to find time to, say, study 2 hours on Monday night, 3 hours on Wednesday, 2 hours on Thursday night, or what have you. The difference between classroom-based and distance mode, it's no easier doing it in distance mode, but it is more effective and more flexible. I did notice that when I was teaching at college that we'd find that most of our students would drop out in the first 6 to 8 weeks. And we found that the reason this was is because the students were not getting into the swing of their study. They were not getting into the routine of getting up and going into college and then coming back, and they'd give it away. But once you went over that 6 to 8 weeks, the students usually stayed on for the whole period of the qualification. So it's important that you're aware of this. So the first 6 to 8 weeks does take a little bit of time for you to get into your rhythm. And all the students that I've spoken to that have halfway or more through the qualification told me that the first 6 to 8 weeks were the hardest in getting into it. Once they got into it, they found it a lot more easier to complete. Now, the support you get from that is what I alluded to earlier. We give you phone tutorials. Request that by email. You can get email support. Now, sometimes one of us is usually have access to the internet even on weekends to answer any questions that you may have. So feel free to ask questions by email. If you're in the eCampus, if you leave a message in the forums, for the subject forums, that'll be automatically emailed to your trainer so we can answer that, and then other students can have a look at it as well. So using online forums is great. We can give you phone tutorials or online chat sessions, but also interact with each other if you're studying online. Try and communicate with other members of your class so you can assist each other. Now, the challenge. Let's have a look at the challenge. Studying from home. Some of the considerations when you're studying from home is getting into the swing of study, as I alluded to earlier. This is very important in the first 6 to 8 weeks. Allocating enough time to do it as well. And if you find that you've got 2 or 3 hours spare that you can get stuck into it, then why not? And then if you've scheduled for yourself to do some study, say on Wednesday between 7 and 9, but something comes up and you can't do it, then that's okay, but make sure you make it up either on Thursday, Friday, or even the weekend. Find a place that's quiet and free of distraction. Find a room that's away from everywhere, and just pull out the books that you need for that particular subject. Have nothing else on your desk at the time, and you'll find that if you study for 1 hour, you'll find that you're starting to get tired. Have a break, come 10 minutes, come back again, and continue study. But my suggestion is you don't study for more than 3 hours at a time. Now, we really need assistance from our family too with this. We need to be able to get them to support us, give us the time to be alone, to be able to study. So talk to your family, tell them about the way that you're going to study and about your program, and that you'll need them to give you some support. Now, when you need support, and I know I keep harping on this, but it's very important that distance learning is supported by a trainer. You can get support again by emailing or online forums or by phone. Now let's have a quick chat about the exams. I know a lot of you get very scared about the exams, but let me give you some considerations about them. First of all, remember, exams are only there to test your knowledge. We don't try and put any tricks in the exam or make it difficult. We just want to test your knowledge. That's what they're designed to do. So I suggest that while you're studying, that you create some study notes or summaries, if you like, of what you're studying. Now you can do this in two ways. One is you can get a pen and you can start writing out some summaries of the notes that you're reading. What I found very effective is actually getting a highlighter pen and highlighting areas of the text that I found is interesting or that relates to my assessments. Now you really should look at your assessments first to get an idea of what you need to study, and then from there you have an idea what you need to highlight in your study notes. So grab a highlighter pen. Now also a really good tip is to, when you're reading, to read the one page first, then read it again. The second time with your highlighter pen highlighting the relevant text. This means that you have some sort of summary notes to get ready to study for your exam. Now, when you actually have the exam, it's important that you understand the phenomenon called brain freeze. Now, some students really are terrorized by exams, and you can't blame them, because we've grown up with teachers trying to tell us that they're so bad. But in fact, again, they're only testing your knowledge. So for the first 20 minutes that you go into an exam, you probably suffer what we call brain freeze. Now, brain freeze is when you're so nervous that your brain freezes up and refuses to release any knowledge. So the idea is to overcome that, is to, as soon as you get the exam, start reading the questions first. Read them all. Doesn't matter if you read a couple and you think that you didn't study for it. Don't let that worry. It's only going to add to your brain freeze. Just go through and read all the questions first. Once you've done that, only attempt those questions you're familiar with. So you might look at question 1 and you find you can't answer that one. You don't know it. Fine. Go on to question 2 and then do that one if you can. Or if you can't, go on to question 3. Hopefully there'll be at least one question you'll be able to answer. Then you go back and follow the same sequence again until you completed all the questions. As you write, you find that your brain starts to defrost and knowledge will be released. So, in revision, allocate time for your study. Get some sort of study plan happening. You've got to understand that when you're studying in distance mode, that you learn in different ways, and and I've showed you how they map to the way that we facilitate your learning. And don't be scared to contact your trainer for support. Okay, that ends the presentation. Good luck, and I'll see you soon.